Hey guys, Martin here bringing another Dragon Ball Z Dokkan battle video, and that's right, you've seen the title, you've seen the thumbnail. I know many of you, myself included, I'm right there with you, are hoping that it isn't true, but given the celebration that we've had so far and the potential for new units and who they could be, like revamps of older units and stuff like that, I think there is a possibility that the Part 2 LR is actually going to be BROLY, or at least BROLY related, right? Because we have already covered movie 8. Now, when it comes to the content in Part 1, I know people have been not super impressed with the celebration so far, right? I did a video talking about it the other day. Lots of comments from people not really impressed with Part 1, how much content there's been, how it's been spaced out, all that kind of stuff. And I mean, that happens a lot with some of the recent celebrations. Like, we even had this conversation during the anniversary. People felt that way, but I think in the anniversary it was a bit different. I think it was more so just some of the pacing that Global had compared to JP. But for this celebration, you know, it's definitely been a bit slower than I think we would have wanted, especially compared to previous years. But all that being said, that's not the topic of the video. We're talking about the fact that Part 1 has covered movie 10. So, movie 8, sorry. We got our new tech Broly that transforms from base into legendary Super Saiyan, which was a great idea, great design. They even, you know, acknowledged the fact in the Dokkan Now video when they talked about this guy that, you know, this gets around the same name problem with the other Super Saiyan Brolys. So very good that they acknowledged that. This is a very good unit. You know, at least one thing about the celebration that's been good has been the new units, right? The new units are very good. And then the main Part 1 EZA was this Int Legendary Super Saiyan Broly, who of course is from movie 8 as well. So we've got movie 8 pretty much covered. Now a lot of people are saying, well, you know, Part 2 can be movie 10 again, right? And we don't have to touch Broly, which, you know, like I said, I'm right there with you, right? We don't need to touch Broly. But the thing is, when we look at the potential for the units, who could we get as potential units for a Part 2 if it's based off of movie 10? So obviously we got this is the Broly from the Broly Second Coming movie. And this guy is like the #1 most wanted EZA for this celebration, right? I think it's fair to say, without really being much of an exaggeration, that is probably the most wanted EZA of the celebration. So with this guy, we would be faced with a similar issue all over again, where we don't want to end up with another unit that's called Super Saiyan Broly. So it'll be interesting to see if they were going to do this guy. It's like, how will they end up naming the character? Now, I have seen some people say that maybe this guy's EZA being a bit of a fumble in some people's opinions, that maybe it's just because the Part 2 unit is going to be another legendary Super Saiyan Broly, and so it doesn't really matter that this guy isn't that great, because we're going to get a new one to replace him. And obviously the Part 2, like, we've got even our Part 1 new Broly transforms into legendary Super Saiyan Broly, so the Part 2 LR could just literally start off as legendary Super Saiyan Broly. Now the thing is, it's not impossible, right? In the Cooler Worldwide celebration we got 2 new coolers, but one of them was Final Form Cooler and one of them was Metal Cooler. I don't know if we'd get 2 literally just back-to-back LR legendary Super Saiyan Brolys. Not to say that it's impossible, of course, because Dokkan, you know, Dokkan does crazy things and does things for the first time, like, all the time, that we're not expecting. So I definitely wouldn't rule it out that we're going to get another LR legendary Super Saiyan Broly. But to me, it feels less likely than them touching on the other movie that they literally told us was part of the celebration. Because you got this guy, I mean, the Superclass character is not so much of an issue, but is kind of another rehash, because we're going to get, if we got another legendary Super Saiyan Broly, then the Superclass character, who would be the Carnival LR, realistically we're probably looking at some kind of new version of the Family Kamehameha unit, which would be interesting. I've always been a big fan of this unit. Having a revamped version with a much cooler version of the Family Kamehameha, like Super Attack, would be really cool. You know, we've seen with the Part 1 LR, they put together Goku, Gohan and Trunks, so, you know, we could get a unit that was Gohan, Goten and Goku. But I mean, to be honest, at this point, like, the Go Bros are, even with their EZA, not exactly a super meta relevant unit at the moment. So I mean, even if the new unit came out and was just Super Saiyan Gohan and Goten, and they replace these guys because they have the same name, I feel like nobody would really be that bothered, right? I feel like we did a video showcasing these guys and how they work on the physical trio team, and you know, it's nice that they get that little bit of a buff. You know, we did win the run against the Blue Zone Gogeta, but it's not like these guys were an absolutely irreplaceable MVP or anything like that. So if these guys got replaced by another family Kamehameha unit, I don't think that would necessarily be the end of the world. And of course, we could look at seeing the potential for just a Gohan standalone. Maybe he has like a unit super with a Goku, a unit whose name includes Goku. Because it'd be weird if it was Goten, because there aren't really any meta relevant Gotens. So that makes it a bit weirder as well. Because at least if it was with a unit whose name includes Goku, then obviously we have the trio who would count for that, so that would be fine, right? So this guy could have like a unit super and then have the family Kamehameha as an active skill. That would certainly be very, very interesting. But when we talk about the Bio Broly possibility, it still feels weird to say. Imagine, like, because remember, with the Dokkan X Carnival format, and the fact that the extreme character in part 1 was the Carnival LR, that means if we did indeed get Bio Broly as the part 2 LR, he would be a Dokkan Fest exclusive red coin. So we'd have a Dokkan Fest LR Bio Broly, which seems weird just to say, right? Now, of course, if we touch on his movie for part 2, when it comes to the actual banners and the summonable units, then we're probably looking at a new version of this character. These guys could get an easy A. Now, the interesting thing is, because they've already mentioned the fact that the characters having the same names is something that they are obviously aware of and had designed like the new Broly around kind of specifically, that leads me to wonder that if we are going to get a new Goten and Trunks, or even potentially a new family Kamehameha unit, what if they're taking that into account with these guys as well, and the character could be like a turn 1 transformation unit like Broly or something, right? Like imagine if it was Goten and Trunks, but they're just both in base, and then they can transform into Super Saiyan straight away. Maybe it's not even straight away, but maybe they're in base, and they're one of those kind of archetype units where they can build up defense for as long as you would like them to, or until, you know, if you feel necessary to pull the trigger, and then they transform into Super Saiyan, and then become like significantly more powerful offensively. Like that's something that we could certainly see, because otherwise you're going to end up with a unit with the same name again. So we could start off as base. You don't want them to throw Krillin in like the name of the unit, because while they'll still keep categories like Earthbred Fighters, Kamehameha, movie heroes, join forces, they'll obviously lose out on a bunch of these other categories as well. So we would obviously want these guys to stay as the duo. I would say probably in base, and just give them a very easy way to transform into Super Saiyan. And then of course, you know, these guys will be relevant for an easy A. There's the Krillin, of course, himself that came out with them, that would be a prime candidate if they easy A both these guys at the same time. Because the thing is, when it comes to the both the movies have a bunch of options for easy A's, right? The both of the Broly movies that we haven't touched yet, because we already mentioned this guy, obviously, right? Most very highly wanted easy A. I use this guy as the example for a standalone Gohan, but this guy very much needs an easy A as well, and is a movie hero support unit. So both movies have characters that could get easy A's, right? We've got all the free-to-play units from this movie as well. There's an AGL Trunks, Physical Goten, and the STR Videl. All free-to-play units from movie 10. They could all get an Extreme Z area and get an easy A. And then obviously we have these guys and the Krillin. Plus, of course, you know, we started off looking at him here before we started talking about the rest of the movies, but this free-to-play Bio Broly himself, right, obviously could get an easy A as well. So the question is, if we were to get a Bio Broly, as much as it pains me to think about it, if the unit is good, then I can kind of see past it a little bit, right? Like when a character comes out that I'm not particularly a huge fan of, but the unit and the kit is really, really good, then I can kind of look past it a little bit, right? As long as the unit is good and fun to use. So the interesting thing to think about is, like, would a Bio Broly unit actually be good? And the thing you have to think about is things like categories and links and stuff like that, right? So When we look at BROLY, he's on Resurrected Warriors, Movie Bosses, Artificial Life Forms, and they've given him that new category, Uncontrollable Power. This was added for the worldwide celebration, but the category currently doesn't have a leader. So we would assume that whoever the Part 2 LR is going to be will probably have Uncontrollable Power as one of their 170 leader skills. And BROLY is on that category. Now, obviously, all of the Brolys are on there. So if we were to go back to movie 10 instead of movie... well, I don't actually can't remember which one it is, but BROLY. This Broly, obviously all Brolys are on Uncontrollable Power. But the thing is, this BROLY is on 4 categories. So even to give him a 170 lead, like he doesn't, like you think about the trio, they have 3 170s and 2 30% pluses. He doesn't even have 5 categories. So he literally couldn't have 3 170s and 2 plus 30% because he's not even on enough categories for that to be possible, which is very disappointing and kind of funny to think about. Now, there's a couple of possibilities. They're not going to introduce a new category, in my opinion, because they've technically already introduced one. But there is the possibility that they could throw him onto some other categories. Now, one of the things that we've seen from the Movie Boss Red Zone version 2 is obviously that BROLY does have a giant form in that Red Zone. He does turn into the giant purple version. So they could give the unit a giant form. And we've seen with units like Orange Piccolo that if we get a really good, like current meta relevant unit that has a giant form ability, especially if it's triggered by an active skill, that can be really, really good because you can then use that ability to essentially avoid like a super attack in the next turn. So that could be very interesting. And if they throw a giant form on this guy, then he would obviously be on the giant form category, which funnily enough would then have to be one of his leads, which I guess just throw it on as like a plus. Well, is it better as a plus 30 or a 170? Because I don't know if many characters on his team are going to have it, right? Depending on what they have. Movie Bosses is already the leader skill for Broly, but we saw in the anniversary, they were more than happy to give a unit a 170 lead and then the Carnival LR, the 200% for the same category. So one of the leader skills could be Movie Bosses. Imagine if it was like Movie Bosses, Artificial Life Forms, Uncontrollable Power, and then the plus 30% was to Resurrected Warriors or Giant Form. I mean, that's just off the top of my head, but I feel like that would be terrible because how many Resurrected Warriors and Giant Form characters are there on those 3 categories? So that's the problem with there being a Dokkan Fest LR Bio Broly, is his leader skill would probably be terrible. So I really don't know. And of course, we look at his links: Super Saiyan, Saiyan Lineage, Berserker, Revival, Nightmare, Shattering the Limit. Obviously, he would have Fierce Battle instead. He's only got 6 links, so he would have Fierce Battle and then Legendary Power. But I mean, this link set is terrible as well. So, I mean, like I said many times already, and we'll say probably forever, even if we do actually get a Bio Broly and he's the new best unit in the game, I don't want the Part 2 LR to be Bio Broly. But I feel like there is a definite possibility. Let me know what you guys think down below in the comment section. Not just about Bio Broly, because I imagine most people don't like him. I know some people will, for the memes, say that a Bio Broly would be hype or whatever. But I mean, if you are someone who does want a Bio Broly genuinely, do let me know in the comments. Let me know what you like about Bio Broly. But yeah, let me know your guys' thoughts. If we were to get a Dokkan Fest exclusive Bio Broly, what do you think his leader skill would actually be? What do you think they would do in terms of, would he get a giant form? Would he be a transforming unit? Because I guess he could still transform into the big red version. Although I feel like the only way they would do that would be as a giant form. But then now that we have characters like Harudagan and Cell Max and stuff like that, we can't rule out the fact that we could get larger size characters just as normal units or transformations, right? So technically it would be possible to get a Bio Broly that transforms into the big red version that then isn't on giant form. But I mean, at least that gives him another category, as we'd said with the leader skill discussion, right? So let me know your guys' thoughts down below in the comment section. Bio Broly for part 2. Would you hate it? Would you not mind as long as the unit is good? Do you think it's never going to happen? Let me know all your thoughts down below in the comment section. Make sure you hit that like button on the video, regardless of whether you want one or not. If you don't hit that like button on the video, then Bio Broly will haunt you. But yeah, maybe he'll get an easy A. Like, that's the thing. I feel like whichever movie they choose to do for the units, we'll still get the easy A's for these other movies as well, because they're all part of the celebration. Otherwise, if the summonable units are both from movie 10, or if the summonable units are both from BROLY, then the other movie hasn't actually been touched on unless we get easy A's. So that is the other thing that people, of course, have been speculating, is that we could get the two summonable units. One could be from one movie and one could be from the other. And obviously, with the way last year's worldwide celebration worked out, there's also the worry that both the units in part 2 could be superclass. Like, we could end up getting a new Go Bros and then like a new Goten and Trunks. And obviously that would be very disappointing for the extreme teams in general. Like, as much as I don't like BROLY, like, I would much rather we get an LR BROLY than get two superclass characters, because then at least that is another movie boss character for the BROLY team, right? Because, you know, we want movie bosses, just like with the anniversary and superhero, we want movie bosses to be a super solid team by the end of the worldwide celebration. And to do that, we still need more buffs. So hopefully we are getting a summonable extreme unit in part 2, but who knows? Let me know your thoughts down below in the comment section. Who do you think it will be? Will Extreme get shafted again and we get two superclass units? Let me know all your thoughts on what part 2 of the worldwide celebration will be down below in the comment section. So that is going to be it for the video, guys. This has been the Master Ningen. Smash that like button, subscribe to the channel if you are new. Check out all the links down below, and I will see you all again soon. Have a good one.